Hi everyone. I am an AI avatar generated by Synthesia. How is everyone doing? Are you having fun at StrictlyVC? I certainly am. But back to why I am here. I would like to welcome you to a very interesting fireside chat about generative AI. Please welcome to the stage Ingrid Lunden, writer and managing editor for TechCrunch, and Synthesia CEO and co-founder Victor Riparbelli. Let's give them a warm welcome and a round of applause.
That was, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, that was not at all awkward, was it? That little intro. It's perfect. It's the perfect segue for a talk about how natural this AI stuff really is. So I just caught Victor backstage just before this, and I said, nothing is happening in the next 24 hours, right? That I need to know about. You're not going to get acquired or release some new thing. Because, I mean, really, we've been talking about, the answer was no, by the way. But, I mean, it's such a crazy business right now. AI, it's moving really fast. And there's so many things happening, including what happened in the last 24 hours with Scarlett Johansson's voice at OpenAI, as Mike mentioned. I wanted to start out with that, actually, rather than talking to you all about how...
I expected that.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's good, because you work in AI, which is very good at predictive things. So, yes, it's good that you did. Yeah, I kind of wanted to just start with that, because it's so funny, because, I mean, you guys are leaning into it, too. You had your last tweet today was, or your X post, was, let's see, what does it say? It says, Sky may not be an option anymore. But hey, there's 400 plus AI voices you can choose from in Synthesia. So yeah, so tell me, what's your takeaway of these things? What's your takeaway from that? That's your auto-playing video.
Well, I think it's an interesting case, right? Because it is not actually Scarlett Johansson's voice.
No.
Which is an interesting color. I think had they kind of outright cloned her voice without permission, I think it would be, for us at least, very easy.
It was a pretty close...
It was pretty close.
It was a clone in the sense that I think they were really going for her voice. They did ask her a couple of times for it, and she said no.
I mean, I obviously can't talk on behalf of OpenAI and what they choose to do. For us,
yes.
We take consent very seriously. We have since day one of founding Synthesia. So for us, there's a hard line of we do not clone anyone's voice or visual likeness without their explicit consent, right? I think there's an interesting non-answer, though, to that, which I think is that if you look at AI today, it's very clear that the two best growth strategies is like demoware, so like make a beautiful video of something that doesn't actually work when you play with it, or it's having no content moderation and no safety controls, which helps you go viral, especially if you're in like the media space, right? And I think OpenAI is kind of very good at like both of those to some extent, and this is maybe like a play on the latter, where the kind of shock factor helps people get talking about whatever.
You mean,
do
you think that they meant to do that on purpose? I mean, he
I
did tweet her, didn't he?
I don't know. I think I'll let people decide for themselves what they think. I don't know what's going on in there. I think everyone who builds companies, especially people who build AI companies like these, are probably like inspired by science fiction.
Yeah.
I definitely am, and I'm sure the OpenAI team, like as per your point, was aware of one of the interesting, most recent stories around what happens when we can talk to our computers.
Do you worry, though, about the way the pendulum might swing? Because, yeah, for sure. I mean, OpenAI right now is still kind of, I still feel like it's kind of a bit of a superstar. Everyone, their app is just absolutely huge. And it's blowing a bunch of other apps out of the water. I think that, companies like Google are absolutely scrambling Meta to follow on with them. However, there are these little things happening. There was the Scarlett Johansson incident. There was that thing with the team that was meant to be running all of their kind of ethical kind of considerations has been disbanded. Do you worry about how that? You guys are doing something very different, of course, at Synthesia. They're focusing on enterprise, and you guys are building basically AIs to do kind of enterprise internal videos and customer service and that sort of thing. But do you worry about how that is going to have an impact on companies like yours? You're doing something smaller yet very, very connected to that.
Sure. I mean, I think there are many battlegrounds in AI, right? And I don't think there's just going to be just one company. My sense is that companies like OpenAI, they want to be the infrastructure layer. They want other people to build on top and use their intelligence to build awesome things. We're very different. We're a very applied company. We built an AI video platform with enterprise so they can make video content for marketing, training, learning, sales, whatever, and we use their products, right? I think right now everyone is like obsessed about models. We talk a lot about technology. We have the last 12 to 18 months. I think once the kind of hype train sort of slows down a little bit, we'll get back to talking about products that move metrics for whoever's buying those products and solve problems, right? And OpenAI, I'm sure, will solve lots of problems for their customers. We'll solve a very different set of problems, and I think that's ultimately what I'm more focused on. Like, I'm not in control of what OpenAI does or doesn't do. But I think from the looks of it right now, yes, I mean, they're an amazing company, right? And they have a lot of modalities, but even if you look at the image generation, right? DALL-E is, I don't have any stats on this, but I'm pretty sure Midjourney is like, both in terms of quality, but also in terms of usage, blows DALL-E out of the water. So I don't think it's a...
Midjourney, of course, has less of a consumer focus than DALL-E 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the reports about their AR, right, is pretty substantial. Of course, OpenAI has substantial revenue as well, but I'm pretty sure that most people who use image generation as part of an actual workflow will use Midjourney, not DALL-E, right? And same thing with the text-to-speech voices, which have also been out for a while now. I think we have a great London company, 11 Labs, who's doing well on that, and I think
they're a partner of yours.
They're also a partner of ours, and I think it ultimately it comes around to like building great products, right? And in our case, and I think 11 Labs' case, that means building a platform that supports the workflow around making video or voice content, that has collaboration, has enterprise readiness. There's so many other things to a product than just the model. But because this is so new and so shiny, we're all talking about like parameters and models and technologies, right?
Do you feel that pressure though as a business? Like, so as a startup right now in AI, right now it's very hard to know what the kind of long-term horizon is going to be for what a company like yours is. It feels right now that there's a lot of focus, as you say, on this idea of foundational models, these kind of platforms that are being developed out of large language models. Are you getting that kind of pressure from either customers or investors or you internally to build that kind of stuff yourselves? Do you have people within Synthesia that are sort of arguing for that, or are they happy to kind of just build on top of what other people are building the way that you are?
We do very deep AI research, right? We have a research team of almost 60 people, and we're training foundational models. And I think for us, it's just, you got to have a strategy, right? And for us, it's like we know the very narrow slice of AI that we want to own is human presenters in videos in corporate context, which means sales, training, marketing, right? I don't care about Hollywood. I don't care about making a video of a dog running on the beach. We'll probably integrate with like Saw or whatever comes after that. But that real narrow slice of the world, I think we can be uniquely the best in the world at. And so that's the only thing I care about. And the reason I care about that is because that's what our customers want from us. So I think looking too much at like, what other companies are doing in foundational models is like, listen to the customer and what they want. And I can guarantee you that 98% of people who use these products, not just to demo it on Twitter, but actually for something real in their business, they don't care about parameters. They don't care about foundational models. They care about some little random thing that is not very exciting, but it's very important to them. So like I was actually just doing earlier today, I looked at we the last 12 months we did 65 kind of quality of life. We shipped 65 quality of life improvements to the app, right? Which is very boring stuff that nobody here would ever care about. But those things you cannot forget, even though the hype train is going at full speed right now, right? It's about the customer. It's about what they need and what they want to solve a problem.
Do you think, though, do you worry about, so I look at companies like OpenAI or Anthropic, and they've raised just ridiculous amounts of money, inconceivably billions. A lot of it going towards compute, of course. But there's a lot of hope and valuation riding on those companies. They're inevitably going to be moving right into where you guys are. How are you don't think so?
I mean, I don't know that, right? But if you look at the big cloud providers, it's like technically the cloud providers have a lot of like, they have like Twilio functionality, right? Or like most other kind of SaaS that today is like just part of any company's stack, they have some version of that product. But they don't care deeply enough about to make it a really good product, right? So I mean, there's of course
you see them as like the cloud companies.
Yeah, I think so. Right? I think they want to own the infrastructure layer. And again, I think even just the act of making a video, right? You don't make a video in a chat box. That's cool if you're like making a demo to show your friends, but if you're actually trying to create a real piece of content that you need to use for your business. So I don't think that's like, I think they'll own the intelligence layer. For us, I see that as an accelerant. I don't see it as a threat. really.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, it may very well be wrong in 10 years' time, and they've swallowed up the entire world because they managed to build true AGI that can do anything.
Right.
But barring that kind of happening, I think, I think they're going to be more like the cloud providers than they're going to be every single application.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So actually, I just want to go back to something you said a little earlier. You said we don't really want to, cater to Hollywood or anything like that. But I think that so Synthesia has a very interesting background because you're not like the technical founder. You've got a couple of people who came from academia, who came into this building these kind of video AIs, and you've come together to build out this company, which is great. I believe one of your, I think maybe one of the co-founders, I believe, did want to focus on that. I think that one of the original ideas you guys had was about this idea of, catering to the kid in the room who wanted to make a movie, didn't have the, equipment for it. I can't remember the exact quote.
Yeah.
But, and the idea is that you were going to build something that they could use to make videos. It was very much about, actually, entertainment, creativity, creators, and so on. Do you think you guys will kind of come back to that eventually, or have you really walked away from that to focus just on enterprise?
I wouldn't leave that out completely, right? But I think we did. So we started the company 7 years ago, so we've been building this stuff for quite a long time, right? And I think what we did.
You started looking originally in that sort of thing, didn't you, or never?
Well, I think we did what you're supposed to not do, right? Which is we actually fell more in love with the technology than we fell in love with like a very specific customer problem we thought we could solve. And that the kind of what we anchored everything on was like in 10 years. You're going to be able to make a Hollywood film on a laptop without needing anything else than your own imagination, right?
Which may well be the case.
That probably will be the case,
Yeah,
I think.
but you guys won't be powering it.
But back then, right, generative AI was not very cool. It was very, very difficult to raise money. We got turned down by absolutely everyone in the world. And so we had to sequence our way.
Did you pitch it as generative AI at the time?
We called it synthetic media, unfortunately. I remember I had a call with a bunch of other people building these technologies like very long time ago. And we were all collectively deciding if we should call it generative AI or synthetic media. Unfortunately, we went with synthetic media. That would have been great SEO juice today. But what happened, right, was just that we sort of went out and we actually started up trying to build this like dubbing product for Hollywood. And it wasn't a disaster. It did relatively okay given the company size, right? But we just learned that selling to existing video professionals was not interesting. It was a vitamin, not a painkiller. And actually there are millions, billions of people in the world who are desperate to make video, but they can't today. Let's find those people and actually we give them a solution like ours, which especially when we launched it back in 2020 was way worse than it is today. If it's 1,000 times easier to use and 1,000 times more affordable, they'll be okay with the quality going lower, right? And so we identified the first real use case in the enterprise for internal-facing content, instructional videos, for where the technology was at the time. But our thesis has always been that ultimately the TAM of AI video and AI content in general is rate limited by the quality and the naturalness and the capabilities, right? So today, the technology is much, much better. We're seeing a huge push towards external-facing marketing content. We will release our foundational models probably in 3-6 months' time. That's going to be like 10, 20x what we have today. Maybe we put that out into the world. We're a PLG type of company, right? So people come to us and they try all different sorts of things. If we see that people begin to create more storytelling content, like let's see where it takes us. I think we're always driven by building a business and doing something that our customers find useful, not just cool, right? That's the key thing for us. So if we see people actually using Synthesia for real business purposes, whatever that might be, that'll be a signal for us to potentially go in that direction.
Right.
But it's very much anchored today on helping the enterprise communicate in video instead of text, right? That's the kind of main idea.
Are you talking much with like the other form of B2B business, which is like interfacing with B2B to C? Like, are there companies that are approaching you guys? So I can completely imagine the internal video thing. And funnily enough, I think part of the reason why it really was a hit was just because of the gap in the market, because there wasn't anything like that already, but because I suspect that the kind of like demands of quality are so high for professional video creators, or even people who wish they were professional like filmmakers, the kind of want to be, next Christopher Nolan or whoever, sitting in his bedroom or her bedroom. It's just not good enough yet. It has to still kind of do several more iterations.
And today, I think what many people misunderstand about our business is that people look at the videos and think like, oh, they're not as good as a real video. Why would I watch this video, right?
Yeah.
But the key thing is that the alternative is not text. Right? What we're doing is we're turning people's text into videos. So most of the videos McDonald's makes to train all their workforce globally, as Zoom trains their sales force with, is content which otherwise would have been a knowledge-based article or piece of text that nobody reads and nobody remembers. Now it's a video, right? So it's more that kind of market expansion. Like I'm not so interested in the video production market as kind of a McKinsey consultant would sort of analyze it. Much more interested in text. I think that's the real market. Like the world is moving from text to video and audio. And I think that's the real market shift that's interesting.
So is there an opportunity, or are you seeing one yet, for B2B to C there? So I'm talking not about like McDonald's kind of, pushing out an, something in their app going, "Hi, have you tried our Big Mac?" I don't mean that, but I mean, they would never do that, never. But I mean, like, I don't know, talking to a TikTok or to Snap. Snapchat is really keen on doing more with AI. They have really blown their budgets with it. They got slammed in the markets for doing too much with the AI that they're so keen on. So, it makes perfect sense to me that they would work with companies, third parties, to build things out. They obviously have done tons with, filters and so on. So there's some, you can see kind of opportunities. So are you talking with companies like that?
Yeah, we talk with them all the time, and I think avatars is the kind of is this sort of starting point, right? I think for us as a company.
Are you doing that already? Are you building avatars for anyone or looking at it?
We have an API people can use, right? So if you want avatars in your application, you can come talk to us. And
is anyone doing that yet, or?
We have customers doing that, yeah.
Anyone that you can name? Any big ones? Or is it?
None of the big ones.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
That
Keep going.
may come soon. But for me, I think the real interesting thing here is if we're really successful as a company, then in the near-term future, right, video will have evolved from being an MP4 file, which is the file format we use of video today, which is like a sequence of frames that's static and hard-baked, to something that's much more dynamic, interactive, personalized, and interesting, right?
Okay.
And I think that will be a lot of consumer experiences that we'll move into. Everyone is talking about like this, like now the hot word of the week is like agents, right? Agentic workflows and those sort of things. And I think a lot of that stuff will also want to be powered by video. Again, the matureness of these technologies, I think, is the key thing. And for me as a CEO, what I think about all the time is like, how do you sequence your way where you build a great business, right? I think there's a big, especially in the enterprise right now, there's what I call the holy grail problem, which is that every executive you talk to can imagine the end state of AI, right? Be like, oh, I'll train LLM on all my company data, and it can answer customer requests, it can teach my sales team how to do things, it can do all these different things, right? And everyone's like, cool, yeah, that feels like it's within reach when you try out like ChatGPT. But then real life hits, right? And you read all these walls where like it doesn't really work, and there's safety and security concerns, and maybe the quality isn't where you want it to be. What everyone has a very hard time doing is sequencing their way there, right? Maybe that's the case in like X amount of years that you can do that. But what does the first step for you look like? What is the second step and the third step? And that's what I always think about. Like you wanna anchor it to something that's valuable today and that people can use today and get value out of, and then you wanna build on top of that. And I think right now it's just like, these videos, they're very practical, they're very utilitarian. It's much, much, much better if a customer is trying to understand how to use your product that you show them with a screen recording made on our platform than a long wall of text. But no one goes home today after a long day at work and says like, I'm gonna open up YouTube and watch a 20-minute avatar video about something interesting, because the quality isn't there, right? Yeah. Later in the year, I think we'll open up storytelling because the avatars it'll be so much more better.
Is that because they're getting smarter or something? When you say storytelling, what do you mean?
So storytelling, I mean, I think audio has kind of had this moment already, right? Where like with generated text to speech, people are now okay listening to an audiobook that's generated by synthetically, right? You would not listen to an audiobook from Siri because Siri talks very much like this, right? And you go crazy after 10 minutes. But it's fine for navigating your GPS in the car because it's better than like looking at your phone all the time. Right. And so the quality gap just needs to get a little bit better. And I think we have it more or less ready internally now. Actually, we're just kind of wrapping it up and getting ready to ship it, where you give it an interesting piece of text and it can perform that like it's a very enthusiastic, well-performing YouTube vlogger, right? Today it's not a YouTube vlogger. It's like a very corporate spokesperson, right? Right. And so that's what I talk about. Like the TAM kind of increases as the. But
you need to feed it the script. It won't be able to kind of create its own.
I mean, we have those features as well, right? Of course, you can use an LLM to generate your script, but I think it's just. I think again, it's a holy grail problem. It's like, oh, we wanted to like generate everything. It's like, no. If you want to make good content, you want to have a human that looks through it. Maybe it gets. We think of the LLM-driven script and video generations. Like it'll take you 80% there, it'll give you a draft, but it won't finalize the thing for you, right? And maybe this agentic stuff is then when it becomes like a conversation, you can talk with it. So I just think there are many steps along the way before that's not just like oh my God, that's so cool. And this is like, actually I would prefer to like talk to this virtual chat agent rather than like picking up the phone and calling. That is a really, really high bar. And I think a lot of companies trying to build the stuff now will get very disappointed when they put it out in the real world.
Yeah. I have to ask you one last question. Are you talking to Scarlett Johansson?
We're not talking to Scarlett Johansson, no.
Are you speaking with any? Do you see a future for like adding high-profile people into the mix? I mean, Amazon was doing that tons with Alexa for a while.
Yeah, we do work with some celebrities.
It's not actually unknown, although it's highly controversial. You know, there's a massive strike in Hollywood over AI likenesses. So
I mean, look, it's obviously going to happen. We are also we're actually working with some. I can't disclose which, but obviously it's going to happen, right? Like celebrities will license out their likeness and do more with their IP. Right. Some will be very against it for sure and will never do it. There's a lot of people who are very kind of forward-looking in that regard. And will definitely want to do it. So I think, again, it's just a question of when is it good enough. It's not good enough yet today. And I think we just have to be realistic about that.
Okay, I have one last question. I'm sorry. You guys raised money last June, $1 billion valuation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where are you on your runway? Because all of this stuff does cost a lot to do.
We have a very, very good business. We've always been focused on building an actual business that's not held up by a parachute of VC money. So I think we're good when we find a way that we think we can deploy like a lot of capital. Yeah. We'll raise, but it's not something that's like in the near-term future.
Okay, I'm just going to ask: are there any questions in the audience? Hi, yes. Let's see, thank you.
Hi, I'm Monica. I have a company which does real-time mental health support, and what you were presenting is, of course, great thing for therapy. How far are we from having digital therapists, do you think?
Great question.
I think, I mean, I don't work on the intelligence layer, right? So you're probably better at telling me when the actual LLM can like provide good and accurate answers. In terms of like the video part of it, I don't think we're that far away, really. Real-time generation is probably required for this. I think the interesting thing will be, as bit as to my point before, the bar will be really high for that not to be an annoying experience, right? So if you like talk to your therapist and then it starts talking and then you try and interrupt it, but you can't interrupt it, that's really bad, right? If the latency is significantly higher than like a Zoom call, your brain will go like, oh, I'm so tired of this, just give me the text version of it. But I think by the end of the year, probably you'll be able to build something that's like pretty good. I'm actually more like I'm more curious about like where the intelligence layer is than the like visualization layer of having.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting because how much are you guys looking at doing interactive video avatars in general? Maybe not. I mean, I think that would need the highest level for all of the obvious reasons. But
so we'll make a big announcement that like in the not so distant future. As I said before, I think
not in the next 24 hours though.
Not the next 24 hours. But I think for all this, right? Like right now we're a better way to create MP4 files.
Right.
And we've proven that's extremely powerful. And it's a fantastic business for us. But the real like interesting stuff that's going to happen with AI video is that it's going to become a new media format. That's going to be very different from today. And one thing is imagining that and making like interactive player. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's V1 of this stuff, right? But where you really want it, we need a new type of video infrastructure for the internet. And that's actually what we're building. We don't see this as just like an interactive player with a button you can click on. You need to rethink how you render videos, right? If you have 1 million users interacting with your interactive video, you don't want to render 1 million videos on a server somewhere. That's going to get catastrophically expensive to do. So a lot of the stuff will move to be more client-side. Right. Video will take on an entirely new dimension. So we're definitely working on that. But I think it's like the sequencing thing, right?
Very, very interesting. Okay, another question. Any other questions? Are you allowed to ask a question? No. Let's have you. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Hello.
Thanks.
Hi. My name is Shashank, and I'm the founder of a company called API.market. My question is, I have two small questions. The first one is, how do you build a moat when AI is going crazy, especially LLMs and diffusion models and everything? There's Google Gemini, which happened last month, which is had a Vivo, I think, which is text to video generation. Pretty good one for like 60 seconds video. OpenAI is going to release Sora. How do you build a moat? Because everybody in the world can pretty soon generate any kind of video that they would want to, especially the ones we saw a demo of, and convert any kind of text or any article into actual video. And the second question is, why are you training your foundational models? I have never seen anybody do that besides like big tech, like Amazon, Google, and everybody else. And what does it provide to you? Like, why are you doing that, basically? Those are two questions I have.
Thank you.
There's a lot of questions. I'll try and see if we can remember all of them.
Yeah.
First of all, how do you build a moat? I think the same way you've always built a moat, right? Like I think if you're planning for your moat to be training an LLM with a little bit of proprietary data, that's not a moat, right? That may be a temporary advantage in terms of like your go-to-market strategy. But I think you want to build a product that's an integral part of your customer's infrastructure. I don't think there's like any new rules there, right? Like you have to rethink the technology layer. And LLM, unless you're OpenAI, is probably not going to be your mode, right? I'd even go as far as arguing, like even with the world and how it looks today, there's a lot of good like open source models that are like getting there in terms of that, right? So you want to build login like you've always built login. You mentioned Sora, V, all these things. Yeah, they're awesome, right? But they are not in any shape, way, or form controllable. And I think they'll work towards that, but I think if you ask the people there, it's very, very, they're built for something completely different, right? They're built to be extremely creative, ability to create anything, but like consistency of characters, instructing it to create a video of someone talking. I'm not saying that they can't do that if they wanted to. Of course they can, but I think it's very far down the roadmap of what they're working on. And I think that like for the very narrow slice of creating videos like this, I actually do think we can with the team that we have. And we've scanned thousands of people in a 3D studio over the last 2 years. I think we have a data set that will at least give us enough of an advantage, right? But I don't think you should believe about all these technologies are not going to be your moat, right? It's a temporary advantage in terms of how quickly you can go to market, and that creates winners. We've seen that with OpenAI and Gemini most recently. But the moat you build in the traditional manners.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Sorry.
We don't have any more time for questions. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Ingrid, stay.